Hello there, my name's Tim Walter. I'm a house healer and alternative life coach. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this video, which is a slightly unusual video. I was actually expecting to be doing a live today, but our internet connection has been rather patchy on and off over the last couple of hours or so. And I've decided to cancel the live today, which is Monday the 14th of June. But I wanted to answer the two really good questions that were raised and we would have been discussing today. So I have got a question from Tyanite 1 and from Mark Hudson. Now Mark Hudson is a regular on the channel, and Mark actually responded with a comment to a recent video that I put up on our sister channel, Your Home Heals. And that was a video that was called, originally here on this channel, it was called Ancient Sacred Symbols in Your Home. In that video, I talked about some of the basic earth energy patterns that can be doused both at sacred sites and at home. And I'll put a little clip up of that video. And what we were talking about was the lemniscate of Benui, this infinity symbol that can be found. So if you go to a sacred site, typically the Merry Maidens, for example, or any of these ancient Neolithic sites that were considered, we regard them as sacred sites, and it's likely that they were sacred to the stone circle builders. If you go to those sites and you look for with dowsing, if you look for the main power center of the circle, you'll be taken to a massive vortex, more or less in the center of the circle, not quite, but more or less. And once you've found that vortex, that spiral as it shows up in dowsing, you can ask about some of the earth energy manifestations that will be shown to you. Now, who are you asking? Well, that depends on who you're used to asking. You can either ask your higher self if you're regularly in tune and doing that sort of dowsing. If you regard your dowsing as asking your higher self, you can ask them. Or you can ask the guardian spirit of the stone circle itself. Either way, your dowsing will show you the spiral and initially a lemniscate of Benui, the infinity symbol that we use in mathematics. First of all, you'll be shown one, and then if you ask to be shown the second one, then you'll get another one that is at right angles to that first. So what you end up with is a infinity symbol on the ground. You know, these are all showing up on the ground, and these are two-dimensional representations of three-dimensional objects, which I'll explain in a second. But you'll get one that is, you know, it's going to be some feet, maybe 6 feet across. So you're going to get one loop and it goes in and then it crosses and there's another loop, and then the other one goes a loop out and then crosses and another loop. So you're going to get these two infinity symbols. Now, I've talked a little bit about these in the past. The key thing is that you are being shown something incredibly significant. These are often overlooked and dismissed. Dowsers step on from them as simply the trivial aspects of earth energy that can be found by even novice dowsers. But they are hugely important. Just because they are the first symbols that are found does not mean to say that they should be ignored. The symbol that you have, that you are shown, that is the two loops, and then at right angles, two more loops. I can't do the symbol. Two loops, and then two loops. That bears a remarkable correlation to one particular pattern that can be found in quantum physics, believe it or not. That particular pattern is the spread of probability of where the hydrogen electron potentially will be found. In quantum science, they use illustrative patterns to demonstrate the way that aspects of an atom are in possibility until they are observed to collapse into an actual location. The spread that is illustrated by the probability of the hydrogen electron bears an uncanny resemblance to the sacred symbol that we find at all sacred sites. This symbol is also something that you can find even at the power center in your own home. So you can douse the most positive and beneficial earth energy power center in your own home. Now you go to your power center in your home, your earth energy power center in your home, and you ask to be shown the first infinity symbol. Please show me the infinity symbol that Tim has talked about on YouTube. You will get shown an infinity symbol. Ask again, please show me the second symbol that is usually seen to be right angles to the first, and you will find it. And the key thing is that as you plot the flow in those two infinity symbols, you will be able to walk it, right? Walk it, pace it out, follow it, like I've showed you in the Learn to Dowse videos. Walk the shape. And as you walk it, you'll find that one loop expands out, and as you walk it round, the other loop actually has contracted. So the opposite loop's contracted. And as you follow it round, you'll go to the next set of infinity symbol, and one loop will be expanded out. And then the other one, as you come round to the other loop that's opposite, it will be contracted. And what is happening is that as you walk it and douse it, you will feel the pulsing of the earth energy that you are dousing. You will feel that you are a part of this waiting, pulsing aspect of creation. Now, Mark's question was, what he says is, he introduces it by saying, I'm working with spirals at Merry Maidens at the moment and have picked up petal manifestations both at the Maidens and Bosco and Stone circles. And after doing my own personal energy work on them, I found it shifts my perception to a state of altered consciousness, allowing me to see energies. So in other words, allowing him to see the other energies because he's in such an altered state of consciousness. And so thrilled, and so I am thrilled, he says. It would take me days in deep ceremony to achieve this in the past. So my question is, he says, is this the collapse of the wave form within me to allow this seeing? Now, the point that we have here, is it the collapse of the wave form, he says. What he actually means is the wave form, is the wave collapse of the wave function. In quantum physics, it's called the collapse of the wave function when the state of potential, so in other words, the state of potential of any aspect of an atom, it's all in a state of potentiality, or like a wave, until the observer's interaction with it collapses it into a particle. Science doesn't agree on what the observation is, whether it's the individual human being or another sort of observation, or even just another sort of interaction. There is some talk about the fact that it could even be background sound that is actually constantly collapsing the wave function of the quantum field into manifest reality. But the fact is something, and we suppose very often that it is our observation collapsing the waveform, something does affect that collapse. Now, in fact, recently measurements have become so precise and so intrinsically fine and detailed that they can see that the collapse isn't instant as previously predicted and expected, but actually it follows a linear, it's an analog pattern. There is a smoothness and it forms into a particle. It forms, but it takes I mean, it's as good as an instant moment, because for our perceptions, clearly we wouldn't be able to assess, predict, measure from the human perspective. Now, to answer Mark's question specifically, this is I'm going to refer back to the interview that I had with Amit Goswami. 30 years, now ex-physicist, but 30 years as a quantum physicist. What he says is that what we experience in the physical realm is as a result of our choices and the choices of the universe, God. in reflecting and showing us something back. And so the waveform collapse, the process where potential changes into actual physical form, is often God's response to our question. So we are in this example, we're asking of the universe what is at this power center. When we're dowsing, we're asking that question. Please show me what is significant at this earth energy power center. And the first stage of that is the lemniscate of Bernoulli, the infinity symbol. What Mark is asking is that the pictorial evidence? Is that the symbolism of the waveform function collapsing? Is that my reflection in the earth energy forming the structure, showing me the process? I don't think we can be as specific as that to answer your question, Mark. I don't think that we can actually say this is per se reality being formed here and now. Now, I used to think, and when I made that video, Sacred Symbols in the Home, a couple of years ago now, I used to think, yes, of course, this is us dowsing the quantum field. Hand on heart, is it us dowsing the quantum field, or is it us being shown representation of the quantum field through electromagnetic interference patterns? The only way we'll know for sure is when somebody goes out and measures these patterns with scientific instruments that are sensitive enough to pick up either EMF fluctuations to such a sensitive degree, or whatever they are, whatever this is that we are witnessing. But the fact is, and what I say and what I really want you to take away with you today, is that we are being shown something. Heisenberg, of all people, massive intellect, quantum physicist from years ago, in the early days of quantum theory when it was being developed originally, some of the early days of quantum theory, Heisenberg said that nature is showing us a response to our questions in what we perceive. So our reality is nature showing us a response to our questions, to our asking. And this is the sort of thing that Amit Goswami is talking about. He's talking about the universe showing us something. And when we're dowsing, we are in that moment that is capable of connecting to that creative force. When we douse, we are in the side of ourselves that is in the individual moment, in the timelessness of the now. And that is where the quantum expression happens. So, Mark, it could be literally showing you your process in the earth energy, but I suspect not actually. I suspect it is your guides, the management working with you as an open individual, an open observer, wishing to explore and understand, wishing to experience, wishing to receive different answers to your questions that say, what is life about? And this is what life is about. Because this that we see is like the process of creation happening before our eyes. This is why these sites were sacred, considered sacred, because they are more powerful, more able to influence, more able to affect our consciousness than the individual power centers that we find in each of our homes. They are magnified versions of the same power centers. The difference is that these ones in sacred sites have been worked with for hundreds, if not thousands of years by different sorts of people, interacting with different intent, working them, making them work. And the earth energy network is likely to be just like our neural network in terms of its functionality, in terms of the way it responds, and in terms of the way it builds connections, because our neural networks in our brains are constantly changing and being renewed. They don't just sit there and your brain is this squidgy thing that just functions in exactly the same way time after time after time. Neuroscience talks about neuroplasticity, and that is about the way that it is a constantly changing mush in your head, not a scientific term, that is constantly adapting to the firing of the neurons and the development of different neurons within your head. Neuroplasticity, it's what allows us to change our character. When we want to change aspects of ourself, that is what allows us to do it. And the network out there in earth energy is likely to be built in a similar fashion. A constantly changing, constantly receptive, constantly responsive network. And we are being shown aspects of it, correlating to our understanding of how the world is created. Now, excuse me to have a slurp of the tea. Now, to the second question from new subscriber Tyanite1. So, he or she, I don't know which, says, one question, and I acknowledge it may have been answered already, but I haven't seen it yet. It feels a bit silly to ask. Can one heal mechanical systems through dowsing? I wonder because I love old cars so much and mine could use some help. I have an ailing air conditioner at home and would love for it to be helped, to be more healthy, so to speak. To be more healthy, so to speak. Right. Tyanite1, I'm going to assume that it's a man. Can we heal mechanical systems through dowsing? I think what he means is through the focused intent that we talk about. A dowsing is a way of accessing the information that is available to us in the subtle realms, as we've just talked about. In that moment of now, when we connect to the creative force of all things, being in the dowsing mode enables us to be in that kind of quantum oneness mode. And it's at that point, when we talked about just now the answer to Mark's question, it's at that point that our choices being emitted and being sent out from us will be reflected by the earth energy that is the formation, that carries the formation of creation, right? So, Tyanite1, if the answer to your question when you are working with your old cars is provided by God, the universe, that says the wrench will adjust something and free the bolt so that you can work on the actual item that you want to get to, instead of it being a frozen bolt that you simply can't access, for example. If the answer is yes, it will be freed, to your questing, to your asking to shift this bolt, then physically you will be enabled to access what you need to access, and you will be given the information because you have the information to be able to fix whatever it is you want to get to. If you are asking the question of, can I fix mechanical things purely by the strength of my mind and my focus? The answer is possibly. But the likelihood is that it will be achievable by somebody that has done the practice, that has done the work. So a Buddhist monk, for example, in manipulating the physical world around them through the power of their mind, they are more likely to be able to achieve things than somebody just picking up a dowsing rod and hoping for the best first time out. Because a Buddhist monk will have gone through the process of change. They will have changed their connection, and that connection will have been changed through trust, faith, belief, experience, all of these things notching up one step at a time to enable them to go from novice person that says, hopefully this will work, fingers crossed, to somebody that recognizes and acknowledges that they, as a human being, when they slip into the quantum creative force from the universe in the moment of now, the timeless aspect, knows that there are a higher percentage of possibilities that their answer will be yes. It will be an affirmative. They will be able to change something in the material world. And so this is how the process is one of questioner, observer, and response back from the universe. Question, answer received from the universe. The reality is this. Question on that answer, another answer. The reality is received. It is a constant process. One, t'other, one, t'other. Symbolically, just like that. Receiving and transmitting process that appears to go on within earth energy. Same thing applies to us. We are both transmitters and receivers. It has been said often. Dowsing itself is not necessarily a way to achieve change, to achieve manifested results. Dowsing is a way to access information. What you do with that information and what you learn as a dowser is significant. But the learning is the discipline of putting one's thinking and one's being, more importantly, the entire being, into a state of focus that allows influence to occur around it. Dowsing itself is a very crude mechanism. The more sensitive and the more highly attuned one becomes, then dowsing actually takes a different role in that dance, that interaction with the creative forces. Everybody is connected at some way, some level, for most of the time, to the creative force of the universe. The power of the individual occurs when they recognize their creative connection and they allow the flow and they recognize they are in the flow. But to ignore one's life and one's reality around the circumstance day to day is to ignore the essence of what a human being is. The human being is a question and answer mechanism, a utility that observes and asks questions to receive answers from its surroundings. In this sense, the human being has agency. It has a demand to know, an inquiring mind, wanting to find out. It is built in as part of the human experience. And that is what our life is, even if we never step upon what we recognize individually as a spiritual path. We still respond to the world around us. And that is the world being created by God in response to questions and circumstance and situations. If we want to explore more deeply, that is our free will, that is our choice. And as we explore more deeply down particular avenues and ways of thinking and interacting with the energies, then so we change and are capable of experiencing things in a different way. And this is why, as we develop and experience things in a different way, it becomes easier to interact with the subtle energies. Because we are literally being reprogrammed in order to do so. It is the nature of the existence. Somebody that is not interested in the spiritual development and the learning of how to interact with the spiritual side in a conscious way will not develop the same mechanisms within to experience the same results. This is how many people can simply exist as a human being and never look at the spiritual side of life at all. And that is their prerogative, their free will. Coming back round to Mark's question, simply look upon the shapes as a learning exercise. Ask the questions and you'll be shown further answers. Hamish Miller explored the layers within earth energy and was constantly asking the question, what does this mean? Many have before him, and many will afterwards too. It is simply a process of exploration and an avenue of self-development. It isn't necessary for everybody to pursue it. It is one way to pursue it. It is a very tangible way, and it allows enormous growth within the individual, because it allows one to associate with the power of one's heart, and therefore the expansion that is a result. So we've looked at several things today. We've looked at what is it that Mark discovered, found in the earth energy at the Merry Maidens. Is it the quantum waveform collapse? Not necessarily, but it is hugely significant. And the fact that he can affect his state of consciousness, that is the key thing about sacred sites. If you go in with an open mind, you will experience amazing things. And those amazing things will enable you to understand that the world is not what it seems. That is why these sites are so special and why they were so sacred. It is the ability of them to change our state of consciousness. Sacred sites. Tianite 1, we talked about, can we affect mechanical systems? And the answer is yes, if we are experienced enough. But there is also an aspect to that I should just include, which is that there is a movement developing within science that says that perhaps there actually were imposed right from the start a set of parameters outside of which we cannot explore, and so therefore the possibilities of manifested reality are not as infinite as perhaps it would seem. Those initial governing states of being are what stop miracles happening all the time. This is something that science is calling superdeterminism, a way of looking at the world with predefined, ordained rules. But in that sense, it ties in with what Amit Goswami discusses, even if it puts a capture, a heading, it puts a barrier upon some of the infinite possibilities that might be there. But we know that within all systems there is always an element of chaos and an element of chance, the disruptor, the joker, the trickster. And even in a system such as superdeterminism, there could be avenues where the impossible still happens. And that may well be what a process like quantum healing, which may be applicable to miracles, that could be that small percentage of chance, of change, of choices that are outside the normal paradigm of the existing framework. In that case, the framework would not be determined by superdeterminism. I apologise once again that we didn't have a live today on Monday the 14th of June. I hope the answers that I have given are satisfactory and have helped those that asked the questions. We will have a live again soon. We will be back together again in that format. But in the meantime, I thank you for watching this video and I thank you for being there. And if I can be of any assistance to you, please let me know.